Hello and welcome back to my channel. I made this list about a year ago, but since then I gained a set of Divine Dragon Balls and I learned to edit. So it's time to take another flame shot at my Dragoon spell tier list. As always, a link to the old video will be in the description so that you can flex your atomic mind and tell me that I was wrong. And now it's time for everyone's favorite section, the disclaimers. This video reflects my opinions and my opinions alone. If I place a spell in a lower tier, it is not an attack on you, your favorite spell, or America, though it is possible that this video represents an attack on Canada and I just didn't realize it. It simply reflects my preference for particular spells based on their relative power level and utility as I see them. Dissenting comments, while appreciated, will likely receive a response of neener, you're a big fat wiener. Also, super chats are enabled for this and all of my videos if you want to support my channel and RPG content. Also, become a member. Also, join the Tanks Please Discord. Now that that's out of the way, we ask what are the best spells in The Legend of Dragoon? The S tier is for spells that are broken. If you're gonna use Dragoon spells, these ones should be used generously. They're worth spending turns to restore MP as well, and they're on characters that use them well, and they have indispensable utility. The A tier is for spells that will very much enhance your damage or have excellent utility. Not game-breaking though, and the characters casting these spells must have the stats to use these spells effectively as well. They're usually good enough to use, but not worth dedicating extra turns to restore MP to use them again. The B tier is for spells that are adequate but have some clear deficiencies. Maybe they're on a character with poor stats, maybe they're overshadowed by another spell, or maybe that character would just rather do something else altogether. And of course, my favorite tier, the Kongol tier, is the lowest tier, and it is for those spells that should never be used. And let me tell you, Kongol spells are not the only ones going in this tier, so you're gonna have to keep watching to the end to find out which spells are going in this tier with Kongol. I'd go into the Kongol tier if you know what I mean. And if you want to yell at me about the placements on this tier list, leave me a comment and don't forget to join the Tantacles Discord. I will put a link to that in the description. Flame Shot is a 50% power spell, and it's pretty good. Dart's magic stat is middle of the road, and he has better things to do with his MP, so this spell goes in the B tier. Explosion is a 25% power spell that attacks all enemies. Unfortunately, the lack of power means there are other characters that can do what Dart does with this spell much better. His Dragoon editions are far better. It goes in the C tier. Final Burst is a 75% single target spell. It hits one enemy, and it's great for boss battles, especially if you special, and especially if the enemy is of the blue element. Dart's magic stat lets him down a bit, but this one still goes into the A tier, and it is the reason that Flame Shot is in the B tier, because you would much rather use this than that. Red-Eyed Dragon is a fire spell that targets all enemies with a power level of 75%. Not 175%. And this kind of error in the game's text is going to be a theme here.
No, God! No! God, please, no! No!
The game has completely fucked up the power levels of about half of the spells, and I'm gonna give you the real deal. In any case, if this spell were 175%, it would be broken, and it would outdamage the magic ladies of the game, so I can understand why they did not give it that much power. And because they did not give it that much power, it goes into the B tier. And the reason is that Final Burst does about the same thing for far less MP, particularly if you use the special command, which will make them do about the same amount of damage. There are spoilers in the next part of this video, so skip ahead to the listed timestamp if you have not played through the game yet. When Dart gets the Divine Dragoon Spirit, at the very end of the game, he gets two spells. Divine Dragon Ball is a 50% power attack that attacks all enemies, and it's only really available for the final battle. But the final battle does have some multi-target pieces, so I'm gonna put this in the top of the B tier. You can also special with the Divine Dragon, which will increase its damage. Divine Dragon Cannon is a 75% single attack spell, and it's about the same as Final Burst in terms of power level, so we're gonna put this in the A tier. It's worth using, but again, there are other characters with single target spells that will do more damage, and they are better to use those kinds of spells with. Wing Blaster is a 25% all-enemy wind attack, and because it's a Lavit spell, it has very low power because Lavit's magic attack sucks. There's no reason to use this spell, and it goes directly into the Kongol tier. If you watched my Ultimate Legend of Dragoon character tier list, you know that Rose Storm is, in my opinion, the most broken spell in the game. It halves all damage to the party for 3 turns, eliminating any survivability issues your party might have and allowing them to act more offensively. It goes into the S tier. So Gaspless is a tough one. It's a 75% power single target wind spell. The spell itself is on par with Dart's Final Burst, but its power suffers immensely because of Lavitz's poor magic stat. Therefore, it goes into the B tier. There are probably some situations in which this could be useful to fight Earth Elemental boss monsters, but they are few and far between. Jade Dragon is a 75% power spell that attacks all enemies. Unfortunately for Lavitz's garbage bin magic stat, this spell isn't worth casting. Just save your MP for Rose Storm. It goes in the Kongol tier. Moonlight is a 100% heal or a revival with a 50% heal to a party member. It also heals status, which is something that I got wrong in my guide about Shanna. Sorry about that. Shanna is the only character who has revival spells in the game, and while this spell is useful in the beginning, it loses a lot of steam later. It's a clear B tier for me. B is for basic, which of course you would know if you watched my video about how bad Shanna is actually. Link in the doodly-doo to that, and to all of my other character analyses when they're all done. Star Children is a 25% power light spell that attacks all enemies, and God, I wish Shanna had a spell that was more powerful than this, because her magic stat is so good, but this spell just is not it. Bosses need strong single target damage, and this gives weak multi-target damage, so unfortunately this spell goes in the B tier. It's just not good enough. Gates of Heaven is a full party 50% healing spell that also revives. Does it cure status? Who cares? I just don't understand why this is her level 3 spell. If you're interested, I might do a video where I talk about what I would change with each character in The Legend of Dragoon to make the game experience better. Let me know in the comments if that's something you'd like me to make. But in the meantime, this spell does go in the A tier. It's a good spell. It just isn't great. And it really just barely makes it into the A tier for me. The White Silver Dragon spell is one of the 2 best spells in the game. I mean, come on, a 75% power light spell from the character in the game with the best magic stat? Yes, please, easy S tier. If it weren't for its high MP cost, it would be the best spell in the game. And yes, there are ways to work around that, but meh. Oh, it also heals your entire party, which is great. Astral Drain, which I call Butt Blaster, is a 50% power dark spell that also drains an enemy's health. It's priceless at the beginning of the game, but it loses power as Rose loses power relative to the other party members, which she does as she grows. So this spell goes to the bottom part of the A tier. Death Dimension, unfortunately, is of a similar power level to other Dragoon's level 2 magic spells, and Rose's magic falls off as the game goes on, and so this spell goes into the C tier. It's pretty mid. As far as Demon's Gate goes, I hate it. I hate this spell. It swallows up all non-unique enemies and it kills them. And it doesn't work on bosses. It's a C tier spell. Also, as an aside, it has the weirdest animation in the game. Rose literally splits herself down the vagina to create a black hole. And the Japanese version of the spell, well, just look that up because I don't want this video to get demonetized, and that would definitely make that happen. And finally, the Dark Dragon spell. This spell is serviceable, a dark 100% single target spell. It gets some extra boost from the special field it creates, however, other characters have similar power spells that do a lot more damage, so this goes to the top of B tier. We're gonna zoom right through Haschel spells because they all do the same thing, just with increasing damage. They do 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100% single target electric damage, and in that order they go into the Kongol, B, A, and A tiers. The Violet Dragon almost makes it into the S tier, but Haschel misses out on a lot of magic power, and Thunder doesn't hit any other elements super effectively. And if you need more information about elements, you can find more information in my tips and tricks guide, and again, I'll put a link to that in the doodly dibbly dibbly derp do. I hope you can see that Kongol's spells are not that difficult to categorize. He has almost no magic power, so all of his spells go directly into the Kongol tier. Just don't use them. Freezing Ring is a great spell. It gives good damage from a great magic stat, and it uses very little MP. And there are lots of reasons to use this even late into the game, particularly against bosses. It goes in the A tier. Rainbow Breath is the best pure healing spell in the game. It heals the entire party for 50% HP, has a low magic point cost, and it heals status effects. And of course, Meru is fast, so she'll be able to keep everyone alive. S tier. And this spell is the reason that I'm annoyed that Gates of Heaven for Shanna costs 30 MP. It doesn't make any sense. This spell is far more useful, particularly since you can use her Blue Dragon spell, which I'll talk about in just a sec, and then use this if you need to heal. Diamond Dust is a great spell. 50% all enemy water damage. Now, unfortunately, it can't be used if you already used Blue Dragon, and it's often overshadowed by Freezing Ring because it does the same amount of damage to a single target with low MP cost. However, when this spell is useful, it is great, and it goes into the top of A tier. The Blue Dragon spell does 100% water damage to a single enemy. It's an amazing spell that heads directly into the S tier. If you want Meru to focus on magic damage, this is the one. Now, overall, White Silver Dragon is probably a better spell because of its healing, but this is a close second in terms of offensive spells. If this video helped you, I know exactly which video you need to watch next. My Legend of Dragoon character tier list. Thanks for watching. Like the video, join the Discord. Okay, bye-bye.